Entering the heart of Warwickshire, we arrived at Warwick Castle in the early afternoon. Guy's Tower, standing 39 metres tall, stood out against a clear blue sky as we approached. On the way to the entrance, our attention was directed to a huge holly bush at the side of the path. And entering through the Barbican and Portcullis Gate, we passed under the murder holes. These openings were designed for the pouring of boiling pitch on would-be attacking armies attempting to break down the gate.
The mound at the southwest end of the castle dates from the medieval period, the 10th to the 15th centuries, and was planted with oaks, yew trees and box hedges. A stone stairway led up into a small chapel with a beautiful stained glass window overlooking the altar and a colourful tapestry hung on the wall beside the pulpit.
Leaving the chapel, we moved to the Great Hall, where we were confronted with the armour of the 17th and 18th centuries. Skillfully designed armour plates protected the horses at this time as they were ridden into battle. A small group of young children too were getting an educational tour of the hall. A large variety of weapons and armour adorned the walls of the hall. A panelled sideboard along one wall was covered with a wealth of well-preserved and polished armour. Our attention was also drawn to the exquisite carvings on this beautifully crafted cabinet and chest. The 17th and 18th centuries of armour on display in this hall made up only a small portion of the castle history. From the medieval period of the 10th century through the Tudor and Jacobean age of the 14th to the 16th centuries, the 17th and 18th centuries, and the Victorian period to the present day, the castle is full of fascinating stories and wonders of the past.
Leaving the Great Hall, we moved into one of the magnificent staterooms with its huge fireplace and stunning furnishings of the 17th and 18th centuries. The ceiling was enhanced with very fine and extensively decorated plasterwork. And moving through the staterooms, we came across a luxuriously furnished blue room. Many portraits decorated the walls, and a magnificent rug covered the floor.
Passing through a hallway, we moved to the Trousseau attraction. In 1978, the castle was sold to the Trousseau Group, which introduced wax portraits to the castle and created the story of a weekend party, supposedly held by Daisy, Countess of Warwick, in 1898. We followed some of this story through the various rooms of the castle.
At the well-stocked library, we found several of the party guests relaxing in this plush setting. A good stock of cigars can be seen in a box on the table. Moving to the music room, we met quite a number of Daisy's guests indulging in their passion for parlour music. Well-brought-up ladies bring their own music to these parties, as they are usually expected to perform.
In the smoking room, we met the Duke of Marlborough, Charles Spencer Churchill, and the Duke of York, the future George V, the son of Edward, Prince of Wales.
A discreet look into the ladies' boudoir found Sidney the footman attending on Lady Sackville West and the Duchess of Sutherland. We also spotted 23-year-old Winston Churchill, just returned from Kitchener's expedition to Khartoum. It was now early evening and Lizzie the maid was running a bath for her mistress. It was unusual to have a plumbed bathroom, but the Countess's guests enjoyed the height of luxury.
We found Daisy in her room, a woman of beauty, wit and intelligence, and a woman who certainly enjoys romance. Her room is the height of luxury and has recently been decorated in the fresh, young and vibrant look of the 1890s.
We found the Carnation bedroom had been turned into a very masculine room for the weekend, and here we met Lord Roberts, just finishing his dressing. Although a small man with delicate health, Lord Roberts is a distinguished British hero and was recently made a Field Marshal.
Daisy is very fond of her mother-in-law and retains this room just for the Dowager's visits. It was in this room that we met Matilda, the Dowager's maid, with her mistress, the Dowager Countess of Warwick. On the Dowager's landing, we spot Lily the maid, looking to see what is going on outside. The linen cupboard and the ladies' and gents' clothes are kept in wardrobes on these landings. We found the Earl of Warwick in his dressing room, patiently waiting for his servant to prepare his bath.
Passing an upstairs window, we looked out on the River Avon as it flowed gently past the side of the castle. The river wound around a small island where the medieval festival was held in the summer months.
An opening on the upstairs landing afforded us another view of the Great Hall from above as we moved to the Kenilworth bedroom. We found Edward, the Prince of Wales, a regular visitor to the castle for the past 10 years. With him was Lord Carson, pouring a pre-dinner drink. The Prince's valet was also in the room.
When throwing her parties in the 1890s, the Countess spared no expense in furnishing the rooms for her guests. This corridor was literally lined with photos and paintings. A room that contained one or more Chinese objects is known as a Chinese-style room. The Victorians loved things Oriental. On entering the Chinese room, we found the Duchess of Marlborough, Consuela Vanderbilt, preparing herself for dinner. Maud, the nurse, who has very good diction, has the Marquis of Blandford, the first son of the Duke and Duchess of Marlborough, in her arms. She has only 1 day a month off and time off to go to church.
Having moved outside again, we explored the 14th and 15th century battlement walls adjacent to Guy's Tower. Outside of the castle walls, we found an archer in action, who demonstrated the skill of the archer in the days when these weapons were commonly used. We were then treated to a little bit of history on the use of the bow and arrow, as well as some of his tall stories.
They recovered some bows that had not been finished, and these bows are incredibly heavy. Now, my bow is based on one of the bows, but it's an ordinary bowman's bow. It's nothing spectacular. What we found is some of the bows had grooves either side of the centre, and we thought, you know, they would draw over 200 pounds. For a start off, there's not the string that could stand it for a normal bow. The string would just snap. At Poitiers, we were down to literally our last breath, and part of the French army hadn't even attacked. Agincourt, the third wave of French, didn't attack. If he had done, they'd have beat us, they'd have had it down. But the sheer fear of this. Now, I've been wounded by an arrow, and I'll tell you this, it hurts. Yeah? A bullet has a foreshot. I don't know if any of you are familiar with ballistics, but when I was a soldier, if I shot a man, he would have a massive deadening of flesh around the bullet hole. The high velocity bullet pushes the air in front of it, and you get an enormous punch which knocks you down. Shock is horrendous. Yeah, but with an arrow, imagine this blighter hitting you. It's just travelling 100, 125 mile an hour. There's no foreshot. It's just a nice, polite hypodermic. You go down, about a quarter of your body loses its feeling, its function. It doesn't go numb, it hurts.
The castle had its beginnings in the 10th century, when an earthen mound was built here by Ethelfreda, the daughter of Alfred the Great, to protect the settlement of Warwick from Danish invaders. Stone replaced wood in the castle construction, probably around the 13th century. Prior to that time, it consisted mainly of a timber stockade.
Moving on, we came to the Peacock Garden in front of the conservatory. Several of these colourful birds either lazed or strutted around this tranquil setting, which was close to the river. The garden was laid out in a hexagonal shape, pivoting around a central fountain. Each segment was separated alternately by gravel paths and strips of lawn. On looking back towards the castle, we reflected that behind these battlemented walls and towers lay 1,000 years of history, a little of which we had tried to absorb in the 2 hours of our visit.